This video... For years, there has been a video that we have promised and we have just not done. Because a long time ago, we promised to do a battle report of Jen's sisters versus my Traitor Guard. And well, I'm shocked to tell you that we're filming that battle report next week.
You sure about that?
But for us to film that battle report, I of course need my Traitor Guard kill team. So in this video today, I'm going to be converting and painting an entire Traitor Guard kill team and bringing back my Unbroken Chain Traitor Guard to the channel. So if you want to see how you can turn a bunch of Tempesta Aquilons into badass Chaos Enforcers, this is the video for you. And this video is sponsored by the awesome t-shirts at Into the AM. But before we get to that, we got to start building. Let's get to it. So for my Traitor Guard, for those who haven't seen the most recent video, which is probably over a year ago now, let me briefly catch you up to speed. I collect Traitor Guard and I don't collect them as part of the Chaos Space Marines rules. I collected them from the old Forge World Renegades and Heretics rules. And now I've kind of said, well, to run a proper Traitor Guard army and have it feel appropriate, I'm just going to use Astra Militarum rules. It makes the most sense to me. It lets me use tanks and all of that stuff. So my group is called the Unbroken Chain. It's a planet that rebelled against the Imperium due to Alpha Legion instigation. So they're not actually heavy chaos worshippers, while there is a little bit of that in the poorest and most desperate parts. They're more just hardline traitors. And they look like this. So I imagine these would be the planetary governors, basically Enforcer squad. Nasty bastards in the best equipment who descend from orbital platforms and oppress the populace on orders, following whatever whims the corrupt governor wants, and by extension, the Alpha Legion. Now, the squad that best represents this in Kill Team, I feel, are the Tempesta Aquilons, which are effectively these deep strike insertion special forces. They have these wonderful jetpacks, and we have the box Kill Team Hivestorm that I can grab those models from. Now, the Tempesta Aquilons have all of the regalia of the Scions. These are basically fiercely loyal Imperial troops that are almost on the path to commissars. Insofar as baseline humans go, they're pretty uncorruptible. Of course, some of them would fall, but by and large, they're the best of the best of the best, sir, with honors. And I do think that this very regal Imperial vibe doesn't really suit, and also the lore of them being actual Tempesta Aquilons doesn't make sense for the context I want to use the troops. So every time I walked past this Solar Auxilia box, the Velataris Storm section, I was struck with this idea. The armor is so dark, realistic space exploration. I love these hardened void suits that they're wearing, and it's so brutal and heavy while not having a lot of iconography. So I think this will make a super good foundation for very strict, brutalist enforcers of a planetary governor's will. They're not so much chaos as they are well-equipped and very well-trained thugs. Now, however, I can't just use the box of the Velataris Storm section. That's not very interesting. So what I want to do is use the weapons or the hotshot equipment that makes them have the correct rules from the Tempesta Aquilons. So I'm going to be making all of the options that's appropriate for a kill team squad, by and large using the arms from the Aquilons joined to the bodies of the Storm section. Now, one of the major changes here is I also want to use the grav chutes that the Aquilons have. And thankfully, if you omit the funny little disc thing on the right shoulder of the Storm section, you can glue the backpacks on with, relative ease. I had to clip off 2 little tags and then glue them on. And there's a few widgets that are supposed to connect to pipes, but honestly, at this scale and in the backpack area, it doesn't even matter. They just look like greebling. So it's super easy for me to just glue on the backpacks and change the arms. Now, on the arms themselves and the backpacks, there are a few details that I was very careful to remove. We have aquillas on the backpacks that they need to be scraped off because there's no loyalty to the Imperium here. And they also have some of these aquillas on the sides of their hotshot guns. And finally, on the actual shoulder pads of all of these models, they have this almost fleur-de-lis filigree detailing. Now, this is very common amongst some of the rounded and, I'm going to say, posh Imperial designs of modern Warhammer. Some of the fancy Imperial units, as well as Imperial Knights, get this. It's like this filigree inlaid soft thing, very reminiscent of Imperial Knights, Imperial Agents. But it's not very appropriate for Chaos. But I do like the Baroque trim. That's very Chaos. So what I do is I just get my knife and that central fleur, that little embellishment in the center of their armor pad trim, I just get the knife and hard cut it off and then scrape that away from the shoulder pad surface. And that actually leaves you with a very chaosy shoulder trim for these guys, which works really well. And also only the elites in my Traitor Guard army have embellishments such as trim that get painted gold later. So it's super super cool that the Storm section doesn't have any trim or embellishment in this way, so only the shoulder pads of my models are going to have a little chaosy touch, which I think is really cool. Now, that's pretty easy and simple for the bulk mainline troops. There are a couple of arms that will need a tiny bit of putty to help them seamlessly fit, because of course these two kits don't go together perfectly, and we live in the age of, well, kit bashing being made difficult with bespoke models. But of course, there are a few models that are going to be a bit more interesting. Kill Team is wonderful in that it gives us the opportunity to have a lot of specialists. The specialists are distinct in their war gear and equipment, and in games of Kill Team, each one of them actually gets to have an independent role, function, and special rules. Now, two of my specialists I decided to be pretty boring with, and that's the marksman with the hotshot marksman rifle, and also the model with the plasma carbine, the gunner. Now, I was quote unquote boring with these ones, and it's because I actually really like the war gear. In the case of the plasma carbine, I think the concept of carbine weapons is really cute and cool, and I like this compact plasma gun, and there is no equivalent of that anywhere else in the Games Workshop model range. So finding a sort of chaosy plasma gun equivalent would just lead to it not looking like a carbine and it instead being a plasma gun. And marksman rifles are also really hard to find in any other range other than Imperial Guard specialists. So those two weapons I was happy to just use and put them in the boring camp. Now, an interesting tidbit I found while building this kit is there is a hard cap on the number of hotshot las pistols you get, but it's not immediately clear from reading the instructions that this will be the case. But a couple of the builds actually use the same pistol and kind of lock each other out. So the first pistol user I made, so handgun count 2, is the gunner. This character akimbo wields hotshot las pistols, which I think is super cool, and obviously I was going to include. With this model, I used the arms stock standard, and then I just did a head swap to make them a bit more interesting. I also needed to use a little bit of modeling putty on this model to make a few things fit and work a bit better. All right, so that dual wielding pistol one is called a gun fighter, and I'm just saying these so those who care about the rules of Kill Team know what I'm referring to. And the next one I need to make with pistols is called a precursor. They're a precursor. I don't know what they're a precursor to. I guess murder. They're equipped with a Tempestus dagger and a hotshot las pistol. They're basically close quarters fighter. Maybe they do some throat slittings and things like that. But I didn't want to use the Tempestus dagger. I wanted to do something cool, and I have the old Forge World Renegades and Heretics resin arms. And there's these really cool like punch knives where they have a blade on the back of their gauntlet, and really no reason to use these in modern 40k. There's no rules for anything that has anything like this except maybe cultists. But I thought for these enforcers, having some brutal custom weaponry would really help make them feel a little bit evil and tie the more ordered parts of my Traitor Guard in with the more disordered parts. And so that's exactly what I did for my precursor. But to match the Renegade arm, I also used one of the Renegade Enforcer Forge World arms and attached the pistol to it here. And I think this made a great vibe. I also have these helmets. I think they're from Mad Robot Minis, but I can't remember. I bought them about 10 years ago. They're these very spiky, very Mad Max motorbikey helmets with horrible gas masks with like teeth on them. I thought they'd look great for my enforcers as well. So this guy's kind of my 2IC. He's got his nasty punch dagger, his horrible helmet, and I think he looks super chaosy. I'm really happy with this one. That's handgun count 3, and now moving on to handgun count 4. We have the leader of my squad. This is called a Tempestor, and he can be equipped with several weapon options. And the one I've chosen is the las pistol and power weapon. And the reason I've done this is because power weapon is very ambiguous, because this allows me to use this amazing power scourge. This is a melee weapon from the Enforcer's kit. It's a whip. And what better weapon for a horrible enforcer from orbit than a whip? Now in this model, I also used those resin arms, and for one of the arms, I actually cut it off at the wrist and glued the Tempesta pistol because I wanted to have the sort of wrist gauntlet with the data pad that the Tempestas have, but keep the Chaos shoulder pads. So as you can see, for my more chaosy models, for my leadership models, I'm bringing more of that Traitor Guard aspect in, as they're starting to feel that path to glory draw them in the wrong direction since betraying the Imperium. Now to add a final touch of decadence to this model with his power scourge, he's got another one of those awesome helmets with the spikes on it, but I've also taken a Chaos Cultist trophy rack from the Traitor Guard kit, and I've glued some of the trophies in between his backpack and his head. So he's got this nice silhouette. You can see those trophy racks, very Chaos above, and you'll always be able to tell who the Tempestor is on the battlefield. So that's handgun count 4, and that is all the hotshot handguns or hotshot las pistols you get in the box, which has left me with a need for one more pistol and no pistol, and that is for the demolitions expert, who is called the Grenadier, equipped with a melter charge and and also a hot shot las pistol. And here I just decided, you know what? I'm not doing it. I don't care that it says hot shot las pistol. I'm just gonna give him a really cool pistol. It gets the point across. Hot shot, the number of shots it can hotly shoot at you really quickly and from close range. So he has an Uzi, because the classic resin kits like the Enforcer kit, some of them have these really cool SMGs. I know they're stub pistols, but they're definitely a little compact SMG. In that spirit, I've equipped him with one of these. I think it looks really cool. It's his bit of custom tech. Maybe he's got it loaded with some anti-armor rounds to depict a hot shot las pistol, but either way, I think it's super cool and it just adds that renegade charm. I also glued an extra harness of grenades over the front of this model, and that and the melter charge I think actually gives a really good, strong difference between this model and the rest of them. Also, just for measure, a evil stick hand grenade with a skull face on it. So that's all the kit bashing and conversion with some of that putty work done. I can now move on to painting my models. Are you ashamed to show your lame t-shirts in public? Like I am. Maybe it's time for a bit of a wardrobe change. Maybe it's time for Into the AM. I have to admit, for the last like 4 years, I've been really jealous every time Squidmar has done a promo for Into the AM and he's done like a collab shirt. So in fact, when Into the AM reached out, I was like, can you send me the Squid shirt? Because it's awesome. And that was Squidmar's collab shirt. They make really cool graphic tees that can level up your wardrobe with style and comfort that's all designed by a small creative team with an artistic direction and human hands. They also create a bunch of basic everyday wear. So if you're more of a Hawaiian shirt in Miami but need a super comfortable undershirt to wear beneath it, Into the AM have amazing tees for you. They've got some wild glow in the dark tees and a really cool art style that to me evokes like classic vintage and also tattoo art, and would be the perfect accompaniment to every wargamer's wardrobe. But if you're ready to level up your wardrobe, maybe throw out some of those overstretched neck, overworn shirts you've been wearing for 4 years, I know we've all got one. Go to the link in the description and pinned comment intotheam.com/TTT shirt. And following that link to browse and purchase your shirt lets them know where you found out about them from. Seriously, we are pumped to get our shirts. Check out Into the AM and their shirts in the description. And thank you to Into the AM for sponsoring the video. Goodbye! But Dave, I hear you say, how do you paint these guys? How have you been painting your Traitor Guard? Well, let me tell you. So, since previously painting these guys, I had a real think, and I've been going, how would I paint these easier? In my life of painting, I've long struggled with doing way too ambitious paint jobs for every model. And the way I paint my models for armies is like the Games Workshop method, and it's honestly terrible for painting armies quickly. It's terrible for painting armies even in like a reasonable amount of time. And with my rampant ADHD, what ends up happening is by the time I paint like one squad of basic troops and a character and then another squad of basic troops, I have bored myself of the process of painting that army. And because I'm someone who the painting and the hobby is a much bigger part of it than say the game playing, like tournaments or anything, I don't really have the drive to, you know, just get them done for the next game. That's not really the big motivator for me. So if I want to paint bigger armies, so I can occasionally play fun games with my friends, I need to come up with something better, something more efficient, but still that gets me the same result. And I've been learning how to do that a lot more lately, and I've realized that the secret is really just contrast in your paint jobs. So previously I painted my models by base coating all of their armor gray, highlighting it, and then painting all of their undersuit gray, and then highlighting it in 2 different steps. And instead I've realized what I can do is spray the things black and just dry brush them one gray, dry brush them a lighter gray, and that gets the armor completely done. So I've used the base colors, Skaven, Blight, Dinge, and Storm Vermin Fur, to dry brush over black and get up to the exact same standard color I used for all of their armor, which is this dark gray. But for the undersuits, I used to then go and repaint everything, and then I'd put washes on everything, and that was the whole process. So for this paint job, I actually decided to use dry, stipply methods of painting to catch all the highlight areas into gray tones, picking out the raised parts of the fabric in the same lighter gray tones I used to use, but leaving all of the undersuit. This is where the wash would have fell eventually. And what I found is this drastically increased the speed at which I can paint these models. models. It transferred something where I would have to re-base coat, carefully painting every fabric area of the model, into something where I just kind of run over the model, tapping it with a brush with each highlight color. And I would say to get to the step where the armor and the fabric is painted, what used to take me maybe 2 hours per model, maybe even more, I probably got done in like 20 minutes per model. A massive increase, and honestly, to me, it's like an identical result or close enough to, especially for army painting. Now, these models do look really dark and grim, and they're meant to. They're enforcers on an ash world. They're Traitor Guard. They look good via the cheerleader effect. You see lots of them on the battlefield. They're this horde of evil, dark colored models that just give bad guy vibes, right? I mean, Darth Vader's whole armor is black, so you get the picture. But there is more to it, and I think what makes these models pop is the spot colors. Now, there are a few metallics that need to get done. So I paint all of the tubing, all of the what I call like industrial metallics in just a lead belcher, and this does get a black wash afterwards. And then there are a couple of brown toned colors. So I use decayed metal from scale 75 to paint all of the metal embellishment colors, bits of machinery, plasma cells, the dials on their backpack, anything that looks like still mechanical, but you want to make it stand out from the silver. On top of this, I stipple and highlight a bit of Liberated Gold, which looks super stark and terrible at this stage, but we're going to put a wash on it and we'll blend the two elements together. I also paint the leather elements, the belts, the pouches. These all get painted in Rhinox hide and then highlighted in Mournfang brown. And with both of these brown toned elements done, I can wash them at the same time with Agrax Earthshade. Now, these models do have a few little highlighty areas I want to pick out, which includes the trim on the shoulder pads and also the visors across their face. I paint the trim there in Viking Gold as well, just to bring a triangle of color to draw attention to the center of model. We've got golded eyes and then on both of the shoulders. This gets a little highlight of Elvish Gold by scale 75 just to draw further attention. And with the washes dried, the silver metallics also get a little Stormhost silver, just picking out the top points with a few dots of the paintbrush to push contrast and get a really quick result for army painting. Now, with kind of the baseline of the models done, it's about making them look cool. So there's a few models that have some special bits. And once again, with the spirit of this project, I decided to just trust my gut. I've been sitting alongside amazing painters and lacking in confidence there for a long time, and I've realized how much you learn by osmosis, and by sticking to the tried and true methods that are comfortable often don't advance. So I decided for the OSL to just go with what felt right, put the colors and tones down in the areas that I thought they would go, brightest colors closest to the light source, and be really rough with it. Previously, I like delicately glaze it 500 times and honestly get an outcome I'm not happy with. But with all the colors put down, I went, well, you know, the parts of the body, the chest, the arm, the glow there isn't going to be as bright as the light source. I know this, that's like OSL 101. So what I did is I just got a green glaze and I glazed over the top of it, deliberately running over onto the gray areas to just carry some of that tint. And I let the overly bright colors be toned down. And lo and behold, I think for an army glow, I did a pretty good job. This is one of the OSLs I'm the most happy with, and I did it super quickly just by kind of trusting my gut. And I think this method worked. And now those same greens I also use for the visors and the wrist mounts. They've got little like sonar pings on some of them. Some of them I did little readouts, just some scribbles to make it look fun. And that's the green, leaving some of the last points and details on the models. We have the turquoise unbroken chain stripes that go down the shoulders and the helmet. And these are an homage to the Alpha Legion that of course manipulate and lead them. And once again, I went for that triumvirate 3 points, 2 on the shoulders, 1 on the head to lead the eye around the model. On top of these, on the right shoulder, I freehand the unbroken chain, which is just a single link of chain with the illusion of 2 more chains going off into the distance in gray on a black background. And on the left shoulder, I did the squad number, and I always pick squad numbers for my squads. The current idea for my Traitor Guard is they've all been 2-digit. So for these guys, I went with Lucky 77, and 7 has an angelic vibe to it, and the idea of them descending from the sky, angelic vibe, because of course, bad guys don't think they're bad guys. So just because they're the enforcers of this Traitor Guard regime doesn't mean they think that they're evil. They kind of think that they're the saviors of everyone from the Imperium. So yeah, the 77th squad. And with that done, we just have the last finishing touches. There's some grenades that need to be painted, and for my guys, I do frag grenades in this sort of Space Wolf blue scheme, just because I think too much green on the model gets lost, and having a little bit of a cool color helps pull the gray out. I think it looks good. And some of the models have some skin tone, so I just did a simple tan, couple of highlights. I almost always paint my Traitor Guard in incredibly pale Caucasian skin tones. I don't paint all my armies that way, but my Traitor Guard, I actually picture them from this like really industrial ash clouded world. In my mind for the world, it's kind of like Helgarn from the Killzone series. Like they're all sick pale, not just pale pale, and there's no sun, so they got no melanin in their skin. It's that kind of vibe. So they're mostly sickly. I stick with really like almost unhealthily super bright pale white skin tones for them, and I think it works pretty well. It certainly adds a bright pop of color against the darker armor tones. Now, this paint scheme always looks a little bit flat until the very last step, which is to do the bases, which I just use some texture putty and little bits of popsicle stick scraped to look like some wood planks for trench works, and just the general ash waste of this world. And with that painted up, the thing that kind of makes the whole scheme come together is a bit of weathering pigment liberally applied to the ground and also up their legs. It helps to break up the tone of their gray armor and fabric, which goes head to toe and can be quite overwhelming, and altogether I think is a pretty good result. So that's them done. Let's check out some reveals, and I hope you've enjoyed the process of me revisiting my unbroken chain. We've had a lot of people talking about Traitor Guard in comments, mostly one commenter who is I think on like day 40 or video 40 of asking for a Traitor Guard Baneblade. And you know what? I will do it. I think I said if you get to 50. That's not that long. It doesn't mean I'll make it as the 51st video because, as you probably can guess, it takes time to do things. But I will do it. I'll do a Traitor Guard Baneblade. I recognize your commitment. Okay, reveals. Boom. Thank you so much to our patrons for supporting this video. If you'd like to join up, we'd love to see ya. I've got a baby on the way, and it's your support that allows us to do this job and have the security to go and, you know, have a baby and all of that. So we really do appreciate it, patrons. We love hanging out with you in the mini club, chatting in our private Discord. There's also a mini review we do every month, and we do behind the scenes videos, vlogs, and updates. So check that out if you're interested. So thank you, patrons. Here we are at the finale of the video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to be playing a kill team battle with Jen next week. Fingers crossed. Now, there is a slight chance that won't happen. The only reason it won't be happening is that would mean Jen is having our baby because she's 37 weeks pregnant right now. So while most first-time mums go to 40 weeks, that's not a guarantee. So we're in the it could be any day now thing, and it's booked for next Tuesday. That's when we're filming the battle report. But if it doesn't happen, you know why, and we'll certainly update the channel.
What you're saying to me makes me want to fight you a little.
If it doesn't, we promise, we will do it as soon as we can, but very exciting stuff.
Y'all ain't laughing though.
Also, just an update now that we're at the end of the video, so those who are here, want to be here and watching, I thought I'd give a bit of an update because I noticed it and I felt bad about it. A few people have been like, the Titan, you know, he's not finishing the Titan before the baby. The answer is no, I'm not. It's not going to happen. And the reason for that is, funnily enough, going on like paternity leave is really difficult when you have so much stuff to do. So we have sponsor commitments that help the channel actually survive and make me think I might have a job to come back to when I get back from baby time, such as today's sponsor, Into the AM. Their link is in the pinned comment. Go check that out for some cool t-shirts. They even do underwear. So there's also commitments we have for the Sisters of the Old Blood campaign that will be coming up soon, which we'll put a bit lower down in the description if you're interested in finding out that on BackerKit. What I want to say is that the Titan is still super important to me. I'm still going to do it. Like, that's my big plan. When I get back, I'll be continuing Titan as well. We will finish the Titan. Super important to me. That's the update. Traitor Guard. Battle report, Into the AM, Sis of the Old Blood, Titans happening, all happening here. Thank you so much for your support, everyone, and see you in the next one.